What if the most dangerous Ferrari isn't the fastest one, but the one that finally feels easy to live with? What if the real risk isn't losing drama, but realizing Ferrari has quietly fixed everything that used to scare owners, confuse buyers, and punish daily use? And what if the new Ferrari Amalfi isn't just an upgrade, but a warning sign that the old Ferrari experience is officially over? Because from the moment you look at the Amalfi, it feels different in a way that is unsettling for purists and incredibly tempting for real-world drivers. This is a Ferrari that doesn't scream for attention but demands respect through precision, balance, and refinement. And that alone tells you Ferrari is no longer chasing shock value but long-term satisfaction. The Amalfi exists because Ferrari finally acknowledged a truth owners have whispered for years. That raw excitement means nothing if the car feels stressful, unpredictable, or exhausting outside a perfect road. And this model is Ferrari's answer to drivers who want supercar performance without supercar anxiety. Visually, the Amalfi evolves rather than rebels, with cleaner lines, tighter proportions, and an aerodynamic philosophy that favors stability over aggression. But that raises a question no one wants to ask. Has Ferrari sanded off too much personality in pursuit of usability? Because while the design feels modern and elegant, it no longer intimidates, and that's either a sign of maturity or a loss of soul depending on how you define Ferrari. Step inside, and the shift becomes impossible to ignore, because this cabin finally feels like it was designed for humans rather than lap times. The controls make sense, the screens feel integrated instead of distracting, and the driving position encourages confidence instead of tension, which quietly fixes one of Ferrari's longest-running issues, driver fatigue and tech frustration. And while Ferrari fans love to pretend these things don't matter, they absolutely do. Once ownership moves past the honeymoon phase, under the hood and beneath the chassis, the Amalfi continues this philosophy. Not by chasing outrageous numbers, but by refining how power is delivered, how traction is managed, and how the car communicates with the driver, making speed feel controlled rather than chaotic. And that's where the Amalfi becomes genuinely dangerous to Ferrari's own legacy, because it's no longer a car you fear pushing hard. It's a car that encourages you to explore its limits without punishing mistakes, on real roads, in real conditions. And that fundamentally changes the Ferrari experience. The driving feel is calmer, more predictable, and more confidence-inspiring than older models. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Some drivers equate unpredictability with excitement, and for them, the Amalfi may feel too composed, too polished, too safe. Yet for everyone else, this is the first Ferrari that feels like it's working with you instead of testing you. Ownership is where the Amalfi's improvements may matter most, because Ferrari has clearly tried to reduce the invisible stress that comes with living with one of these cars. From smoother drivability in traffic to tech systems that don't feel experimental. But no Ferrari is cheap to own, and the Amalfi doesn't magically erase maintenance costs or long-term depreciation concerns. Instead, it disguises them better by making daily use feel less like an event and more like a privilege. And that can be both comforting and dangerous, because the easier a Ferrari feels to live with, the easier it becomes to forget what ownership truly involves. This car isn't for everyone, and Ferrari knows that. The Amalfi is aimed at buyers who want performance without punishment, excitement without anxiety, and prestige without constant compromise. Which means traditional purists may feel left behind while first-time Ferrari owners will feel invited in. And that shift could reshape Ferrari's future more than any engine spec ever could. Compared to previous models, the Amalfi feels like Ferrari admitting that improvement isn't about louder engines or sharper edges anymore. It's about trust, control, and confidence. But every improvement comes with trade-offs, and the biggest one here is emotional intensity. Because when a Ferrari becomes easier to live with, it also becomes harder to mythologize, and that's the quiet risk Ferrari is taking. So the real question isn't whether the Ferrari Amalfi is the most improved Ferrari ever. It's whether this level of improvement changes what a Ferrari is supposed to be, and whether buyers are ready to admit that the scariest Ferrari might just be the one that finally makes sense.